we'll just go from there. Last week we mentioned about, not meeting in September, and we can do that. I think that's a good idea unless there's somebody who wants to take over, and just do the readings, talk about them in any way, shape, or form. With the two rabbis on trips and Pastor Bruce doing other things, the people who have been formally trained in Scripture are unfortunately not here. But that happens. But I'm not going to be here physically. And so, and there are other things that are coming up that I don't know exactly. I probably will not be back from doing this. I guess next week will be the last time I do this. Well, actually, I can't. This will have to be the last week that I do Torah study for a while, and won't be back until the middle of uh, October. So so if anybody wants to fill in the breach, even if you all get together just to talk, have talk about things that are happening, put your minds together and just to have some time. That's part of Torah study too. And you can continue it doing it that way if you so choose. You can put the formal readings aside and just talk about what comes to mind. I mean, that can help a lot of people too.
It could be also abbreviated. If we get together, it doesn't have to be for 2 hours. It could be for an
For
hour.
an hour.
You
That's
know,
right.
it could be something abbreviated. And if the discussion gets kind of interesting, then it can be extended. This can be discussed among the people who will be here, who will
That's
be on
right.
the Zoom. So
Yeah,
it'll be open. It'll be a wide open.
you got it.
You know,
I think that's a good idea, Michael. And all of you are smart enough, you can easily do things, something, even if it's in the news and like that. The only thing I ask is that everybody respects different opinions and like that.
well, that comes under the heading of wishful thinking.
Oh, poor Amy is having all kinds of troubles getting on.
Yeah, because she had problems with her internet.
There she is. Oh, there she isn't.
There she is, and there she goes. There
Oh,
she.
that's fun. Amy, you had a lot of trouble getting on to this morning.
Yes, they made me go in and update my information, and what they were missing was the state that I'm living in. They had everything
Oh,
else, my address, Green Valley, and all that, but they needed Arizona.
okay. Well,
So
I
it's
guess
been a
that's
journey.
helpful. But if that's all they wanted, that's good enough. But yeah, for some reason, I had a little difficulty getting on, and David has had, and I had. I don't know what's up with everything. So we'll just have to wait and see and go from there. So I'll read our opening prayer, and then David has been kind to discuss Longfellow. It brings some Longfellow. I remember uh, 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 something to the effect, "You're a poet, but don't know it, but we all know it. Your feet are Longfellow's."
This is one of Wendy's favorite lines.
Especially when you trip over something.
Which I did not.
Anyway, I'll read it in our prayer in English today. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. You have sanctified us through your commandments and commanded us to busy ourselves in things of Torah. So,
Amen.
Amy, what I was mentioning, I don't know if you heard while you were getting on or anything. This probably will be my last. Whoops, we just lost Amy's uh, image. Well, we'll wait. We'll wait for Amy to come back. I don't know if she can hear us or what. So what I will do, uh, I will ask everyone whoever the has our a translation of Torah in front of them. We are currently on Deuteronomy 5, verse 19. We've gone over a whole bunch of the uh, of the Ten Commandments. Things are stated a little differently by Moses, but look, he's getting older. It's his memory and everything, and so these little bits though add for great opportunities for discussion. So feel free to interrupt where anyone wants. So we're going to start with Deuteronomy 5, verse 19. And David, if you have your commentary, I think you have Hertz in front of you. Is that right?
It's yeah, it's mine is the Masoretic text, which is
All
the one I
right.
can. Okay,
Okay, so
so
verse 19, if you would be kind
verse
enough to
19.
read verse 19 through the end of 24.
These words the Lord spoke unto all your assembly on the mount out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness, with a great voice, and it went on no more. And he wrote them upon 2 tablets of stone, and gave them unto me. And it came to pass, when we heard the voice out of the midst of the darkness, while the mountain did burn with fire, that ye came near unto me, even all the heads of your tribes and your elders. And ye said, Behold, the Lord our God hath shown us his glory and his greatness, and we have heard his voice out of the midst of the fire. We have seen this day that God doth speak with man, and he liveth. Now therefore, why should we die? For this great fire will consume us. If we hear the voice of the Lord our God any more, then we shall die. For who is there of all flesh that hath heard the voice of the living God speaking out of the midst of the fire, as we have, and lived? Go thou near, and hear all that the Lord our God may say. And thou shalt speak unto us all that the Lord our God may speak unto thee, and we will hear it and do it.
Okay. People may have slightly different translations in front of them, but it's okay. Uh, any comments about this?
I have one, because I
Please.
like to think that my old, and this is way off topic, but I like to think that my old computer is the first laptop ever built. It's a Lenovo ThinkPad, and I've named it Moshe Rabbeinu. And when I boot it up, it comes up with Moshe Rabbeinu, and that's how I log in. And the reason I did that is that I had to buy a new glass for it, a new screen for it. And the reason I had to do that was that when God gave Moses the Ten Commandments, with all the lightning bolts and everything else, he smashed the glass on the computer. And Moses said, Well, why did you do that? Now I have to go to the store and get a new screen. And God said, Live with it.
So, does anything come to mind? I know there's a verse here that we've read and like that, but in Plout there's a commentary, and it's a very useful one. Does David, in your version, does well, it doesn't matter. We haven't read this yet. My fault. My fault. I'll
No,
let
Marty,
the,
no, no. What I say is that there is a difference because in the original 20, just a second, Amy, in the 20, in the Exodus chapter 20, it doesn't say that the people of Israel actually heard the voice of God. Apparently, they were just waiting down there. Um, it, in Deuteronomy, it does. He actually says that we all heard the voice of God that day.
right. Very good. So, this becomes this is it's so maybe we can interpret this several different ways. We have the ability to hear God as a congregation, when he's speaking to all the people, but we can also hear God personally, that it's both, not one or the other. What do you think about that? Here, in one case, he's speaking to the people of Israel. That's what Moses is speaking to everyone. So when it says you, we assume that it is
Well, you can,
everyone.
you can receive, if you hear him speak, you can receive it as a personal message if you want.
So we have that ability. That's human. That's very human, even though that it's spoken when a rabbi speaks to the whole congregation. Some people will say, "Boy, that really affects me," as if he was speaking to me. And the same thing here with that maybe some people also had this other feeling, even though we know from the way the language is and like that, and we've been taught this many times that Moses was speaking to the entire congregation. But there are those that are there where the message seems to run even deeper. Do you have any feelings about that? Has that happened to you in the past at any service or anything like that? Yes, Amy.
well, God speaks to me all the time. I call it my conscience, but
Yeah.
um, he's pointing the path that I should or should not take. And so I certainly understand that. We had a sermon one Sunday in church, and it was so impactful that when the service was over, everybody, it was dead silence. There was no talking as the congregation left for their cars. And it certainly impacted me, but it convicted all of us. I mean, we all heard it and we were all processing it, and um, we each of us individually knew what aspect of our lives it was addressing. And that was one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had. So God can speak collectively to us, and he can speak to us through our conscience.
Okay, I have a feeling you're sort of hitting the nail on the head. Uh, Sometimes certain words, take for example the Gettysburg Address. And it is so important to recognize that there wasn't great applause after Lincoln said it. And yet he felt people just didn't regard his words. And yet the next day in all of the papers, they were speaking of this phenomenal speech. And it went a long way. It happens to us all the time. We hear something, and it affects us in a more personal way than the entire congregation or uh, the entire community or whatever, however you want to look at it. But it affects you, and that the same thing can happen in art. The same thing can happen in music, all literature, all kinds of books out there. And sometimes it's just one little phrase that strikes you in a peculiar fashion, whatever you want to say, and you say, and you hold on to that. It becomes part of you. And I think that that's those are important things to remember. That each person, how you stated it, Amy, is very important. That each person is absorbing it a little differently according to their uniqueness.
Right.
And I think that that's okay, but we have to recognize that all the time, that people may hear the same words, but the interpretations are slightly different
Well,
because of the
Marty,
backgrounds.
the issue it addressed in my personal life could not have ever have been the same issue that was in anyone else in the
Right.
congregation. It was that unique. But everyone in the congregation was impacted because it addressed issues in their life that no one else knew about.
That's right. That's right. Perfect. Perfect. So this is that even though when we read this, we know that that Moses is addressing all of the Israelites. We know from personal experience. Now, sometimes words that are being said have an impact on us
Mhm.
because of our previous experiences, and that I think is a very important component here. Anything else, Michael or David, that you would like to comment on about that?
Well,
Marty, can you tell us where we are in Plow?
Oh, okay.
What
I
page
know some
number?
of you, your screens went, you know, dark. Only your name showed up for a while. We were reading it's Deuteronomy 5, verses 19 through the end of 24.
What page is that in?
In Plout, it's 1358.
Ooh, okay. Thank you.
So it basically, and when we think of the Ten Commandments, from time to time, each one of those situations present themselves to us. Sometimes it's every day, sometimes it's once a year, sometimes it's once in a blue moon. Well, that happens twice a year. but but I should say maybe in every 5 years or 10 years, who knows? But when they occur, I think one way to look at it is maybe because people may have another interpretation, we're supposed to think about the commandments. when those situations arise? And what have we been told? What would other people do? What would we do? Rather than just reacting. That's the hope, I think, that God has in us. What about your opinion? Okay, I'm going to word this in another way. Way. Specifically for David. When you look up at the skies, and I know you were probably observing the Perseids meteor shower, and do you ever, when you look at these things, I mean, everybody who's looking out at the heavens at that time will see the same meteor shower, but certain meteorites, I mean, not meteorites, but meteors, when they pass through the atmosphere, people will perceive them differently. Does
Yeah.
that happen to you, David?
Yes, it does. It's a very personal experience. I was watching one meteor shower back in 1986. I was engaged at the time to what turned out to be my practice wife, and and we were watching meteors, and I got the idea in my little David brain, what of other people in the past, what kinds of other people have watched meteors, not just amateur astronomers, but people, writers, politicians, criminals, anybody. And I began to think of the relationship that night between the night sky and English poetry. I already knew that Tennyson was an amateur astronomer. I would find out the very next day that Gerard Manley Hopkins was an expert astronomer and loved observing the night sky. And later on, I found out that Shakespeare himself loved the night sky just by reading from his canon. And so the power of the night sky really got to me that night and has never left me ever since. And I just wanted to say that.
Okay. So it was there for all, but specific to you in that fashion. Michael, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to call on you, but I want to ask you a bit about music. When we know that your talent is tremendous, but I am sure you have listened to other people play the same pieces. And so you play a piece in a way that I get a lot of joy out of it. Okay, I'll tell you right from the get-go. I don't I know you have spoken about certain styles of music and especially this has moved you, and that's why you play it that way. But a piece can be played innumerable by many thousands of other people playing that short uh, music rendition, different renditions, and all kinds of things. But when you pick on one particular rendition that you find that is that is that driven from a personal feeling that the music is moving you in a particular way?
Um, yeah, yes, just a minute. I wanted to go back to your original question and the answer Dovid gave. The essence, I forgot now because I was listening.
Take your time. Take your time.
I, the essence of the question and the essence of the answer was this a personal experience. a personal experience. That was the essence of your question and the essence of the answer. Because the reason David gave that answer is because of his passion, his driving and unwavering passion to to the, to his love of astronomy. So he's going to see that like no one else can, even other astronomers, because he has put himself in a very unique category. And so it becomes really personal. And so now I'm glad I can remember that, because I wanted to say that
Sure.
before you started to ask me what you wanted to ask me. So sometimes it gets a little difficult for me
Sorry.
because I have to put up with you, and it's okay. He's laughing. Now, when it comes to other renditions, and to put it down to more of is easier, a simpler way, it's arrangements. Musical arrangements is what you're talking about. That's what a rendition is. A rendition of one song, and it's a music. It's music that is arranged slightly different.
Right.
See, and so one of the things uh, that is really uh, my love of music is musical arrangements, because when I play a song, it's not written that way. It is not written the way when I play it, but it's very recognizable because I'm not changing the song. I'm instilling different chords in a certain
Right.
in a certain area, make it more interesting. Because people ask me very often about the song, the way I'm playing a piece. Every song, it could be somewhere over the rainbow. There are certain things I do in that song to, the arrangement is just different. And I just love doing that. And the way that came about is if I was playing the notes off of sheet sheet music, it would be the way the song was originally arranged. And if I continued to do that all my life, I would not be able to do what I do today.
Correct.
Play the song and create a different arrangement. I don't change the song at all. Some people say, well, you are changing. No, I'm not. Because I say, well, what song is that? What song am I playing? And they'll tell me, well, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. How do you know that? Because I can hear it. But there's something about it. They don't know music, but there's something about that
Right.
song which I never heard before. And I said, do you like it? He said, I would say, well, do you like it? They say they love it. Because the song is not only, it's kind of remodeled, like you're remodeling a piece of
Sure.
wood. Oh, that's, I wish the rabbi was here. And I'm going to tell you why, if I may.
Sure. By the way, this is I consider all of you rabbis in your own way, because of your fund of knowledge in your respective fields and how it ties together with what we are talking about here in
So
Torah.
here at the Torah study, I think it was before you came on board. It was maybe 10 minutes to 10 or 5 to 10. And it was time that you did not get on yet. So we were talking amongst ourselves, and the rabbi asked me a question. He says, well, Adon Olam, the song Adon Olam,
Hmm.
he was referring to, I believe, that song. He says, how can we put those words into another melody? And I didn't think quick enough because I wasn't ready for that question. So I said, well, you know, you just have to work at it, and Just try to do it. But then I should have, I thought about that question at way after, maybe days later, just came to me. And I say, why, first of all, why would you want to do that? Why? And this is in Jewish music. They take lyrics from
Hmm.
different Jewish tunes and they want to put them into different songs. And I don't see that done in American music. Can you name me an American song that they take one song and completely put into a different the lyrics from one song and put it to a different song?
It, well, I would say maybe there's a different rendition. Yeah, some of it, it would still fit, but you just do it. By the way, in literature and in poetry, that's done all the time, and we don't understand it happening unless people have a footnote and say this is based on what somebody else said. But that's like, using someone's words a little differently to get a point across.
You see, you use the word rendition. I'm gonna bring that to a different level. It's a different arrangement.
Okay.
But the song is not, you're not going from one melody to a completely different
Well,
melody.
in jazz, sometimes they do take, a little bit from here, a little bit from there, and, poke it. I call it poking them into the scheme of things.
Okay, okay, you're talking about something that's right up my alley. Uh, I do a lot of jazz. People don't recognize, but when I'm performing with, let's say, the saxophone, Malik, the
Yeah,
saxophone player that you saw with me when I did the
yeah,
Israeli show,
yeah.
and
You'll have a little riff. That's
yeah,
right.
so yeah, we're doing, and sometimes it goes out. The song is not. They don't change the song. The
Right.
melody is not changed.
I understand where you're coming
Somebody who
from.
is not familiar with jazz music,
Okay.
it may sound that way because I'm doing certain things on the piano and he's right with me. He knows he knows the melody. He knows the melody because a saxophone
Right.
is a single note instrument. Plays one note at a time. I'm playing chords which are multiple notes at one time.
Right.
So he knows where I am, and he's with me every step of the way. And some people say, "Well, I went into another song." No, that's what jazz is. It's improvisation.
Right.
It's all improvisation. So you get
So maybe all I can say, I honestly do not know the reason why. I can only take guesses as to why in Judaism there are different ways of singing the songs.
no completely change. They completely changed the melody.
That's
It's
right. That's
it's
what
a,
I just said. That's right.
rather than do that, why don't you just create a new song?
This here is something you have to ask the rabbis. I can
Yes,
only offer my own opinion.
yeah, that's fine.
And it, I think it may point to the diaspora because in different parts of the world, people use different rhythms, different melodies, things like that to say the same thing. And they may even have slight differences in the word. But when we talk about a prayer in Hebrew, the words stay the same, but the music fits the customs of that particular region.
Well,
So maybe that is why we see it. I've been, I've heard a Ugandan service. I've heard a service when I was visiting in Curacao. And around the world, it's
yeah.
a tremendous experience because some of the chants the words don't change, but the chanting changes because of the different culture within which that prayer is being stated, maybe. And that's
Well,
just my own personal guess.
yeah,
I
well, that's
don't know.
fine. That's decent. That's very reasonable. Have you ever, let me ask you this question, and I'll ask David also. if you ever heard this, there is there's at least one culture, and I don't know, I probably could look it up, but they use quarter tones, it's not a quarter note, not a quarter note, but a quarter tone. You know what that is? You know what a quarter tone is?
No, but I've heard this. Go ahead. You go ahead with this because somewhere in the back of my mind, I believe one of my daughters gave me a talk about this. But go ahead. You do it.
Okay, you have in American Western music, there are whole notes and half notes.
Yes.
In other words, if you're looking at the keys of a
Oh,
piano,
Chinese. Chinese is different, and Japanese are totally different expressions of music. They don't use the same tonal scale as Pythagoras.
okay,
Okay, they have their own,
I
and
wasn't,
they're
I
different
really,
in
yeah,
that
I
part of the
really,
world.
that I wasn't really knowledge of. But
Okay,
anyway, a quarter tone is the tone, the sound between a whole note and a half note. So you got these half steps. You have the white key. Let's say the middle C is a white key, and the next key is a C sharp.
right.
So you have
It's a black one,
a
right?
whole note and a half note. The cultures created a tone between that, which is you
Mm-hmm.
can hardly distinguish. I mean, for myself, it's kind of very strange.
Well, yeah, it is. If when you go to the Orient, the scales are different. The scales are totally different, the tonal scales. And I don't know what it is. I don't know why or anything like that. I'm not smart enough to be able to answer that. But I do know when you go into different parts of the world, uh, the rhythms may be a little different. The scales will be different and everything else. It's no different than when David is seeing the comets or meteors. You can see meteors have different colors, and in that stream because and the colors are based. That's due to the fact that they have different metals in the composition of the meteor.
You know something, Marty? I have to tell you this. When talking with Esther at the president of the temple,
Uh-huh.
when I told her, and she was very supportive when I was there. I said, you know, Esther, I really would really like very much to give a discussion of my life in Hollywood and music and all that. And Esther said that would be wonderful, but it never happened, you know. And it's a shame. And I would have done it with music, you know, with the piano
Yeah.
and that I would have looked very much forward to doing that, but didn't work out.
And you would have done it your way.
Yeah, I would have done, I would have done it, and it would have been. I guarantee you, it would have been very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And David, I know when you look at things, when I took the classes in astronomy, I wanted to know what I was looking at. I wanted to know why that star was red or yellow or white or blue or whatever. And you actually can see the differences, and you can use filters to help, either make one series of colors stronger than the other and or weaker than the others. I found it fascinating from that side of things. Uh, Others just want to look at the night sky and see it for what it is and like that. So it's there for everyone, but everyone will see it slightly different. And I think that's
Which
the beauty of everything. Yeah, go ahead, David.
brings me to something I've wanted to say, and that is as I get much older in life, I find that my interest is not really in astronomy at all. There is a difference between astronomy, which is a science, and the night
Yeah,
sky, which is passion, art, poetry, and feeling. And that's
sure.
my passion. is right now. And I just wanted to add that to what the good comment that you just made.
And I think these are wonderful. So yeah, I've dabbled in a lot of different reading because I want to know something about these areas. But it's just fascinating. Anyway, so I know we digressed a little bit, but what I want to do is, David, since you have your book in front of you, unless we want to talk more about this, would you read on with verses 25 all the way through the end of 30?
Okay. Okay, here we go. And the Lord heard the voice of your words when ye spoke unto me. And the Lord said unto me, I have heard the voice of the words of this people, which they have spoken unto thee. They have well said all that they have spoken. Oh, that they had such a heart as this always, to fear me, to keep all my commandments, that it might be well with them and with their children forever. Go say unto them, return ye to your tents. But as for thee, stand thee here by me, and I will speak unto thee all the commandment, and the statutes, and the ordinances which thou shalt teach them, that thou may do them in the land which I give them to possess it. You shall observe to do, therefore, as the Lord your God hath commanded you. You shall not turn aside to the right hand or to the left. You shall walk in all the way which the Lord your God hath commanded you, that ye may live, and that it may be well with you, and that you may prolong your days in the land which ye shall possess.
Okay, thank you. Any comments? There are several different comments about this passage that David read, and I think that there were at least worthwhile to mention. But first, as usual, I like other people to take a stab at things first. Any ideas, or should I just give you a few little hints? What these words mean to you?
Well, and starting at the 24, when say you go closer to hear all that the Lord your God says, I take that to mean to listen very carefully, not
Yes.
necessarily to go closer, but to listen very, very carefully to what he's saying.
Would you use the word heed to heed?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to
Yeah,
say.
heed those words. That's
Yeah,
right.
heed those words. Take them very seriously.
Yes. Uh, Maybe that's why this portion, what we're going to be reading is going to be very, very, it's going to come back to us and we're going to realize, oh my goodness, this is where certain prayers come from.
Well, I'll
We're, we're
I'll
about to
go.
enter into
Yeah,
that.
well, that's right. Uh, I'll go further than that. Um, when God speaks, not only listen, but like say, take heed and do it. Either you do it or you don't do it. Don't you, when God says not to do something, you take that very careful. You take it personal. Take it very personal. See, when you were talking before about speaking to the congregation, it's more that each individual, even though he was talking to the congregation, each one, he was talking not only to the congregation, but he was speaking to everybody on an individual basis.
That's exactly right. That's well, all I can say is that's how I feel. I know traditionally they say this was spoken to the group, but I feel that it was meant to also to inspire each individual. Yes, I agree with you, Michael, 100%.
And um, take heed to everything I say all the time, whether it's now or thousands of years later.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying it now because he's speaking now. Because God and Moses have a very, very close relationship, and all of these things are said now for the, pardon the expression, for the long term.
That's right.
For the
Very
long term.
good. Very, very well stated, Michael. Very well stated. David, do you have any comments on this?
Well, except that, like you, I do agree with what Michael just said. So I have nothing else to add to it. I think he said it all.
Okay. What I found, and by the way, when we read uh, verses 20, verse 25, and uh, it's like a prelude to verse 26, and it's really the two go together. But in verse 26, the sages have said something about it that has been considered very important. The word may, it sometimes suggests that it doesn't, it's you will or you may not. You don't know it's over time. We don't know when the word may is used. And so the sages have discussed this in terms of free will, that the choice is ours, the choice is yours, choice is mine, uh, that uh, that we may see things a little differently.
Well, this is where the Hebrew may come into importance.
Yes, it does. And I'm not smart enough to know the differences.
No, that's not true. You're smart, you're very, very smart, but you simply don't know this. It's not
Yeah,
because you're not smart. You just know, you're, pardon the expression, you're ignorant of this particular situation, but that doesn't mean you're not smart. The ignorance means you're just not knowing this particular thing. So you have to give yourself a little bit more credit, Marty.
it's all right. I was going to ask in the commentaries, they usually have in every edition, they say something, there's some comment made in Plout on page 1361. There's a big discussion on this. And he talks about various uh,
Made.
points in the Bible, in the Torah, and also uh, he talks about Rabbi Akiva, and Maimonides, and like that, and you start saying, people much smarter than I think our current generation can produce. Uh, it, 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 it's uh, it, it's uh, it's phenomenal that I think, and that's why I started by saying, although traditionally it is said that everyone that all of these words were addressed to the people as a whole, we have the ability, as Michael has pointed out and David has seconded, that we can accept it uh, as a personal admonition that we're supposed to follow these rules.
Well, supposing I change the word may to hoping. Hoping, I hope, I
You
hope,
could, But that still allows for the freedom of choice.
Well,
It doesn't say you will follow them. You will obey these rules.
well,
It's a-
hope to me means that um, you're making the right choice or
right, but
the correct decision,
mhm.
a decision that is godly.
But that means you may not. That we may have a tendency to go the other way.
Well, that's why I originally said hope.
Yeah. And so maybe God realizes when he created man that things could go either way.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't say, I hope you make the wrong decision. If you look at it that way,
Mm.
that doesn't really, that would not apply. I hope you
No,
make
but
the wrong, I hope you make the wrong decision.
no, but if you say, hope you make the right decision, and God says that, he says, he gives us choose, you have the right to choose death or life. Okay. He says,
You should only make the right decision.
and he says, choose life. So there's a whole series of things that go on. But it is very and that it comes out in this statement. It comes out in this statement uh, when he says, "If you follow the commandments, you will go well with them, and your progeny and you will live long and prosper." Which is who are Star Trek fans. That comes from out of the mouth of Dr. Spock. So live long and prosper, and that is part of the traditional prayer that the rabbis use at the end: live long and prosper. So at the end of every service, I should have finished that sentence. But to live long and prosper. So it shows you how a phrase, keeps coming up throughout this book. Um, Also in Plowed, he comments on the issue of Cain and Abel, and after killing Abel, he asks God, "Am I my brother's keeper?" And God doesn't answer. You should know this, that you are. But God doesn't say anything, but he will protect Cain. Maybe God was hoping, maybe God saw that he had created this type of situation by creating different individuals, and in the process, he realizes that, well, it can go both ways. You can be peace loving, or you can be, you know, you can let hatred and violence take over. Maybe that's what this is addressing. I don't know. I mean, when the rabbis return, maybe we ought to go back and ask them, is this really freedom of choice or not? Because you can teach people a lot, but what they do with that, they have a choice.
Yeah.
So, any comments on that?
You know, it's I find the word choice and mistake interwoven with one another. People will say they will not admit they made a bad choice, but they will say, I made a mistake,
Right.
and they're different. Uh,
But in either case, you can compensate for the bad choice.
oh, yeah.
We're given that opportunity in
Yeah,
our religion, and
you
other
compensate
religions do it too.
by admitting you made a bad choice and just go on with your life. You
Yeah.
do what you can to correct the bad choice.
That's the point. That's the point. Very good. Yeah, because if we always made
And then
the
one other
right,
thing,
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
then you admit making a bad choice and you use that going forward as an experience.
Right. So that you can learn from that when you made the batch, so you don't necessarily do it again.
Right.
And I think that's very good. But I think that uh, uh, that so anyway, the rabbis and other sages have used that phrase to go into this type of discussion. So so when we read uh, when we read in verse 29, be careful then to do as the Lord your God has commanded you. Do not turn aside to the right or to the left. Follow only the path that the Lord your God has enjoined upon you, so that you may thrive and that you may go well, it may go well with you, and that you may long endure in the land that you occupy.
That tells me that what we just talked about. You made a bad choice. Learn go, learn from it and go forward as a teachings to to see that going forward in your life you will have learned, and next time this arises you will make the right choice.
Hopefully. Hopefully, because
Well,
that what you come up with may still not be the right way of doing it. Yes, we'll have to try
like you
again.
say, I like that word hope.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point here. When we talk about faith, that's what it's supposed to instill in us. Whatever our faith is, people of other persuasions and like that, they have their own system of faith, but it gives them a sense of hope for the future. That sooner or later they'll get it right.
The In today's day and age,
I know where you're going, yeah.
without getting specific,
Yeah.
that word hope is getting smaller and smaller. Unfortunately, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I don't think it's a good idea to sugarcoat it while it just sort of dims away. Not a good idea, but as an individual, and only we can do as individuals for ourselves to do the right thing and go on with our lives, whatever that may be.
Yeah. Well stated. Well stated. So, David, is everything working okay?
Well, everything's working okay. The brain isn't quite up to snuff, but everything's working okay.
Okay.
Uh,
So,
Keep your
there is one other comment I just wanted to make, that of the many positive commandments that show up in Deuteronomy that we'll be reading about later on, that they really pertain only uh, being observed in the land of Israel, the land that the Israelites were about to enter. Other than that, you have lots of what you shouldn't do. So I just wanted to make that. So we spoke about those. Okay. Now we're going to come to for some reason, this passage in Deuteronomy has also resonated with me. What we're about to enter, it has, and we were speaking in terms of this, leading into this, and so we're going to start Deuteronomy 6, uh, verse 1 through the end of 3. Michael, can you read that for us?
I think so.
Okay.
And this is the instruction, the laws and the rules that the Lord your God has commanded me to impart to you, to be observed in the land that you are about to cross into and occupy, so that you, your children, and your children's children may revere the Lord your God and follow as long as you live all his laws and commandments that I enjoin upon you, to the end that you may long endure. Obey, O Israel, willingly and faithfully, that it may go well with you and that you may increase greatly in a land flowing with milk and honey, as the Lord your God of your fathers spoke to you.
Okay. Now, does this register in any way? And have you heard words like this before?
It certainly registers with what's about to come. And verse 4, etc., which is about to follow. And this serves almost as a beautiful introduction to that.
Okay. Uh, any other? It's true, David. Very, 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 very good. Any other comments that that are very, that you may feel is important in verses 1 through 3?
Well, I I'm getting uh, the information that the Ten Commandments is woven into the entire Torah
Mm-hmm.
in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yes, it is. Very good.
uh, it it just seems that way to me because as we read the Torah for many years now at Torah class, it appears to me that in one way or another, everything reverts back to the Ten Commandments in one way or another.
Yes. All the stories, and that's what is very important. You hit on a very important aspect, that you have a series of stories and stories within stories, but they all point to what is a better way of conducting your life. And it shows all the choices that people have made in the ancient times, in the ancient past, and they uh, and whether they what they do right and what they do wrong. So you can go back to each one of the stories, and you can say, "Oh, that's yes, this is what the messages are in the Ten Commandments," and it goes on throughout the Torah.
Well, also I see that God made a command that we should all uh, live by the Ten Commandments. It's a
Mm-hmm.
command by God.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we read further into the Torah, all of the Torah, it's a reminder that this is God's will upon the Jewish people.
That's right.
And that is
Because
God.
if you take it to heart, in a way, it's like a call to patriotism. That it's above how you feel. You feel that what you believe in is very, very important to you, and you're going to conduct your life accordingly.
According to God's will.
Yeah. So, how about nationalist pride? Pride
Say
in
that.
your country.
Can you please repeat that, Marty?
Or what about other sources of pride? Uh, I know how I would answer my own question, but what about nationalism?
You mean love of country?
Yeah, love of country.
Well, take a look at what we are, what kind of a nation, what we're founded on. Are we on? Have we been founded on godly values? Are we a country of freedom? Do we have oppressors upon us? Do we have laws that say uh, we we shall not be imprisoned under false pretense? That
Hmm.
this we are. It is said that we, with all our problems in this country, we're still the best in the world. I believe that, and that there are people who want to change the country to something else. But you have those people, before they get to that point, have to take a look at how did we become the best country in the world? What was that did this? And it's the values. Values are very important. One's value, the people, the way they think, you know. And what do we do? Many people also say, "Well, we are the world's policemen," and I don't have a problem with that, because if we were not the world's policemen, someone else would be. Some other nation would be. And since we're the best, in my opinion, in the world, that's what I want. I would rather have that than anything else. Because what we spread, our value is to spread freedom. When we see people oppressed, really oppressed in other parts of the world, we feel bad about that, and we do something about it to 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 alleviate the oppression and the terrible things being done to other people in other countries. And that comes from our values.
Okay, so it's the values. So each one of these I'm going to call them rules or commandments. Yeah, you can use any word you want. How to conduct our lives. You can take it in such a way, if you make the right decision, if you make the right choices, you will prosper. That's what it says here. Well, that can have its limiting factors. There, there, there are things that we do, like somebody goes to save somebody from a car that's coming hurtling down the road, and somebody's standing in the middle of the road, and a passerby just leaps out and goes and saves that person. But then there's another choice that can happen. The person trying to do good may survive or may die trying to save that person. Remember in the recent floods in Texas, people that went to save the children, they died in the flood.
There,
and so it's a choice, but the value that we value their decision by saying that was a heroic act, and they gave their life to
well,
to to.
that comes from your values and your
That's right.
humanity. You
That's
know,
right.
if you've been raised with good values and you see something that that because of the way you were raised and the values you hold, when you see something, it's a would be normal because it was instilled in you all the days of as many days as you live, that you need to go, you need to help, you need to come to someone's rescue. There was some years ago, and I forget who was the president at the time, but the president of the United States, whoever it was giving a State of the Union address, address, and many times, and well, actually all the time, the president of the United States, whoever it is, will have somebody in the balcony that they want to recognize who did something very
Mhm.
good. And there was, I don't know, it might have been in New York or Chicago, where a man fell onto the tracks of a subway.
Yes.
You remember that?
Oh, yes.
And he pulled him. And what the black man pulled this man uh, to the side and covered him with his body as the train went by and saved his life. I mean, the roar of the audience went up when he reckoned, and that
Yeah.
thing was sitting next to the first lady, and I just can't remember who that was.
I don't either, but I
Yeah,
remember
but
the
but
incident. Yes.
that's one thing I would point to. I think that's a good example.
Yeah. So just having the values and putting them into play when needed, that's what this is all about. And every story that we have been reading over the past 7.5 years, it's almost 8 years now, that we each one of those stories, as you point out, it picks up one of the commandments and shows how it can, what happens if the commandment is not followed. And it starts in Genesis and goes right to the end of the Torah, the stories in the Torah. So I think that's the important aspect of this. And so now you can understand one of the reasons why people say, and I know you've said it and other people in Torah, is that the Torah really doesn't end. It starts up again.
It wasn't meant to end.
That's right. It just keeps going on and on. And once you read the last word, that you go right into the first word. And
At the same breath, you don't even take a breath.
that's right.
In the Orthodoxy,
Yes, I
you see,
understand, but
I
this is why it's to drive home the point that all these stories, the things that hold true and fast are the values as mentioned in the commandments.
I can't remember what I did yesterday. I cannot remember for the life of me what I did yesterday, but I can remember 79 years ago what I did. And maybe it was meant for me to be raised in an Orthodox setting and go to Hebrew school and all that. Maybe it was meant to be that way. So I would know at least have some of this knowledge.
Sure.
And 80 years later, I'm involved in this Mishigas with a Reform temple.
It's okay. This is what goes on. I know.
Yeah, I'm just telling you that
That's right.
I'm saying it from my heart. I'm not hiding anything.
It's
You
just a
know?
new story to add to everything.
Yeah, but I could see the difference. Maybe I'm just meant to recognize the difference between Orthodox and Reform.
Okay. They're
Why
not
that?
that far apart. They make themselves seem far apart, but in
Well,
reality, they're not.
I'm being taught.
I know.
I'm
I know.
because the Torah, this Torah is the same Torah that was given to me 80 years ago.
Yeah,
But but the teachers of the Torah today are teaching something much different.
not all.
In
I
certain,
have.
no, not at all. In certain
Right.
respects, it's different.
Okay. I want to ask the same question of David now that he's back. Uh, uh, David, do you see the same thing? We've been talking about the commandments and the Torah, that even before the commandments are given, many of the stories, and all the way throughout the entire Torah, the stories seem to reflect they're all moral based stories, and that they all point towards the commandments.
Well, most of them are. There are some where they just describe the journey and how the people packed up, left, walked a little bit more, and set up a camp in a new spot. And it must have been very difficult to plan a 40-year sojourn through the desert. But the interesting thing that I'm seeing is the meshing between the stories and the moral law that is given as a base for those stories. But it's there, and it sort of flows from one part to the other. And you're right, Marty, you're not insane.
Yeah, I think that's what I find most interesting. This is almost like, if you will, and I'm not demeaning, do not mean to demean the importance of Torah, but I'm reminded of Aesop's fables. That all of those fables, all of those stories are based on something that something of value, some concept. By the way, Star Trek, the original Star Trek, was based on the same principle. That each one had a moral ending, and the story was based around that. Uh, those of you who are fans of the cowboy movies, whether you saw them on TV or in the theater, same thing. And so some people even called them morality plays. All these different things because of the way they were designed. That if you follow the path, the right path, you're going to win. If you follow the wrong path, you're going to lose.
Yeah, one very simple, a very simple example of what we're talking about, and something that we can all understand, is if we remember that Moses struck the rock with a
Hmm.
stick and got angry, and God got angry at Moses. And it's not about striking the rock. Moses got God got angry at Moses because he got angry,
Yeah,
because of his temper, I would think, not because he struck the rock.
right. As a matter of fact, that is a breach of faith in the rules, the commandments that have been given.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's the whole point. And I think you nail it there, Michael. Every one of the stories you can come up with will have that type of ending.
Yeah, I think you can make a case for just about everything.
Yeah.
However, Dovid pointed out some incidentals that are true, but
Yeah.
all of not every word is 100%. However, because there has to be a few things in there to keep the continuity of stories together.
Okay. Very good. And I'm
Except
going to
that
shift
there is
your,
one
yes,
thing,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, David.
yeah, there's one thing that I learned last week in Torah study is that there is no commandment that says, thou shalt not lose thy temper. It doesn't say that. And so when Moses struck the rock in anger, and that kindled God's anger, um, I'm still not sure what God was angry about because he never told anyone, thou shalt not lose thy temper.
Because he was angry because Moses didn't follow the instructions.
Yeah,
And
that
you know,
that plays
and he made some assumptions, but it became more personal as opposed to that he made the action personal as opposed to coming from God. And so that's one way of looking at it. But when it becomes personal, you're losing faith in, hey, watch your temper. And that comes up in multiple stories. That comes up in multiple stories. Be careful of your temper. Uh, we're human. We're all human. We're going to sometimes act out of uh, one reason or another, but we have to keep we have to think what are the consequences of what will be the consequences of my behavior. And all too often we just
That's
jump to a conclusion.
that's a terrible problem. That's a terrible problem, Marty. People get angry, and it depends on the person too. Some people have a very hot temper, and some people are slow to anger. Depends.
Yes,
But that's why we have to. Um, it's a very, very terrible situation because law enforcement can only do so much. They can't predict. They don't know from one second to
that's
the
right.
next. And I feel very bad for that. That law enforcement is unable to handle every conceivable situation.
Yeah,
It's
that's one aspect of it. But if we take it personally, the only thing we can do personally is to control our emotions.
also report,
That's
you know, report anything that seems out of the ordinary. Report something that gives you a feeling something might happen imminently. You don't know. I think people have to be aware, and
true.
these are very important issues.
I think they're right, because if you're making the decisions based on values, one of which is to keep things under control, because you don't want to. What if you think about it? All of the commandments are within your control to fulfill, and it's based on your set of values,
Your value system. I was just thinking
value
about the
system, and
same.
that's the most important aspect to it.
Yeah.
So what we're about to read now is probably the most important part of Deuteronomy. So I guess David's signing off for another bit of time. So Michael, why don't you read verses 4 um, through the end of 14? This will sound very familiar to you.
I'll do what I can, Marty.
Sure, I know you'll be able to do this.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone. You shall love the Lord the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand, and let the service of the symbol on your forehead inscribe them on your doorpost and on your house and on your gates. Now that refers to thrilling, when you're putting on thrilling.
Yes. By the way, this passage is in the Tefillin and in the mezuzahs.
Yes,
Okay.
when the Lord
That's
God
right.
brings you into the land that he had sworn to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, to sign you great and flourishing cities that you did not build, houses full of good things, that olive groves that you did not plant, and you eat your fill. Take heed that you do not forget the Lord who freed you from the land of Egypt, house of bondage. Revere only the Lord your God and worship him alone, and swear only by his name. Do not follow other gods, any gods of the peoples about you. For the Lord your God is
In your midst.
in your midst and is impassioned God, lest the anger of the Lord your God blaze forth against you and he wipe you off the face of the earth. Do not try, do not try the Lord your God as you did at Mesa. Be
Okay,
sure,
Michael, I just wanted to go through this point, this is the end of 15.
okay,
So, yeah, this is the Shema, which includes the V'ahavta prayer. Okay, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might, and set these words upon you this day. You know, it goes on. It's taken from this. You're very correct, Michael. And it is. Do you have any comments about this, David?
No, except this is a prayer that I say every night before retiring, and I enjoy it very much. There's a great deal of meaning, and I don't do the tefillin very often, but I do have mezuzahs in the house, and I know what they're for, and I know how important they are, and it goes back to this passage out of Deuteronomy. I just wanted to say that it is very meaningful for me as well.
Yeah, this is a very this passage that we just read is really, if you want to look at it another way, the heart of Judaism.
I think so, yes, it is. And I
I
want to
don't care.
congratulate Mike.
That's right. Go ahead, go ahead, David. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to congratulate Michael on a fine job that he did reading that passage. Very, very important passage. He
Yes.
did a beautiful job reading it.
thank you, thank you.
So it to me it really drives home the point that there's one God, and that God set down all these rules or the commandments, laws, whatever you want to, how you want to look at it. They're not suggestions. Some people joke about that, but I don't think it was ever meant to be a suggestion. This is it. When the laws are made, no matter what law, it's not made as a suggestion. It's made because that says you have implicit control over whether you want to obey it or not. So the law is being laid down, and you are doing it so that you're going to live long and prosper. And by that, your children will, and your children's children, and so forth. It's a very meaningful series of words that I just have, personally, I'm just talking about me personally. But, uh, but to each of us, anything else come to mind about this? When you hear these words, does anything come to your mind, specifically come to your mind, a past experience or things like that? Maybe I can get you started. My mother and they never liked going to services, but she was religious in her own way. She would say her morning prayers and she would say the evening prayers, and she taught me these. And he and she and whenever I read this, I think of her because I remember, and then and also remembering all the mishpacha, pray for them.
Yeah.
And she would put it in different terms. Now I lay me down to sleep, which many people can refer, were taught that way. But there was so much in this, and and so I'm reminded of my parents whenever I see this and whenever I hear it. I don't know how it is in other people's minds. What happens when you hear these words? David and Michael, what do you hear? What enters your mind when you hear these words?
Well, when I entered the temple, I remember my parents
Yeah,
uh, had great parents, Marty. I can only continue to say that uh, they were just they were great in every aspect. I never one time ever thought that they weren't great. They're responsible for my music and my music education, and especially when they take out the Torah, when the rabbi removes the Torah from the ark, especially on a Saturday morning, because I'm really not, until I came here, I was not familiar with a Friday night service, only Saturday morning service,
right,
which took
right.
place every Saturday. Me and Betty attended that for 38 years, in both in the Chabad and uh, the Knesset Israel synagogue, and they were real synagogues. They wasn't a temple, really. We didn't
I
call
know.
it a temple. And so, yeah, when I hear certain prayers that don't alone, and I have a don't alone actually on one of my albums, my music
I
CD.
have that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and so I turned it into a song, and there's a good example of an arrangement.
sure.
If you listen to it, I didn't change nothing. It's a,
That's
it's instrumental because I don't sing
right.
in Hebrew, so that's instrumental. But the uh, but the melody is completely intact. The rhythm is of a Cuban.
Yes,
See, and some of the chords, but that's a good example. Glad you said that. But yeah, I remember them, and I remember my bar mitzvah. I mean, I do remember very, very often, Marty. What can I say?
Yeah, these are things that come to mind, which I think are good examples. David, what comes to your mind when you hear or read or have listened to this series of words?
Well, it's very meaningful for me. But what is even more meaningful for me is in the Hebrew, even though I do not understand exactly the translation. But to say it in Hebrew has even more meaning for me. "V'ahavta es Adonai Elohecha kol v'cha kol nafshecha kol miyodecha." It's something that's deeply meaningful for me.
I'm going to have to ask you guys a question. Uh, in your, uh, did your parents send you to a cheder?
You what?
To a school, the Hebrew school?
Yes, mine did. Yeah, the Shar Shemayim Hebrew Religious School I went to for several years.
Okay.
I
And that
enjoyed
was
that
the
very.
Orthodox temple in wasn't it?
No, ours was conservative,
It was
but we
conservative.
never thought of
Okay.
ourselves as conservative. We thought of ourselves as just a good shul. And Dad was always joking about it, as because I was a member of the young people's part of it called Junior Congregation. And Dad said that the senior part with the main Senate sanctuary was called the Big Shul. And we always joked about it as being, we're going to the Big Shul today.
Right.
And
Interesting.
that was such a very special, it was a joke, but it was also very meaningful for me.
I remember going around um, the city, and we saw the Jewish community, and they were all, it was, you saw the Hasid dressed in their long coats and everything, and everybody walking in the neighborhoods. It was fascinating, but you know I just find it interesting. I was brought up with a conservative hater, and it leaned more towards the orthodoxy, and I never, even though later on, my bar mitzvah was in a reform temple and like that, I still would walk to the services of the conservative temple in the area. And it's just me. I just felt more at home with that for some reason. And that's all I can say. But I feel, but this prayer, it doesn't matter what kind of temple you're in, where you are throughout the world in the Jewish service. This is the heart of the whole heart of Judaism. And this is recited in every single temple. The other prayers can be, sometimes they're read before, sometimes after. The rituals of when to drink the wine, when to break the bread. There are multiple times in different cultures when they pause to do all of those things.
You know,
Um,
they um,
yeah.
um, it's uh,
What's the matter, Michael?
oh, I was gonna say something.
Sure, go ahead.
I don't want to interrupt you. I'm
It's all
sorry.
right. Go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned this is the heart of the service, and it's in the middle.
Mm-hmm. It
It's in
is.
the middle. It's not
That's
at
right.
the beginning. It's not at the end. It's in the middle.
That's right.
So you know what that represents? The human heart. The human heart is not on top. It's not on the bottom. It's in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
more or less.
And next time if you have a plowed edition, if it's commentaries, you will see the Mishkan. He has a little map of the Mishkan, and just the floor plan. And when the first time I saw it, I said, "That's the layout of the torso of the human body." Now I want you to go and look that up, and you can just look for it up online, and you will see that the body of the Mishkan is set up almost like the torso of the human body.
Isn't that something?
So I wonder if they knew a heck of a lot more than they did back then.
I was gonna, Marty,
Yes,
uh,
go ahead.
could I ask Dovid a question?
Sure. If he'll answer, if he'll agree to answer.
Well, I'm gonna ask it
Oh, yeah.
anyway. He's gonna have to answer, But I was just curious about something for Dovid. And this is the question. And of course, he doesn't have to answer it. But I was just, the curiosity has the best of me at this moment, based on what we're talking about. Dovid, when you're gazing up there, looking through your telescopes and seeing all of these magnificent things that you are looking at, what are some of your thoughts? What brings to mind when you see, because of your passion of this wonderful adventure that you pursue?
Vastness and beauty. But to
What?
give a 3-word answer for that. The vastness of what's out there is indescribable to me. And at the same time, the beauty of it and the sheer magnificence of it. I go out there and I've never, no matter how bad I may feel, when I go out under the night sky, I always come in feeling better because I've experienced both the vastness and the beauty of it.
Thank you, David. Dovid.
It's very profound. I have a hunch that each one of us, um, I bet, Michael, you feel the same way about your music. You see the notes, but that you see much deeper into it. Your feeling it gives you feelings of accomplishment and feeling good about yourself when you play. I can see by your facial expressions when you're playing that comes out in your performance.
Yeah, I think of my mother and my father in particular.
Yeah.
You know, I know, that I don't know if you noticed, but every time I have a performance, I always include my Yiddish mama in
Yes, I know.
every
I
in
know
every
why.
performance. I do that, and why? I mean, because I think of them. They gave me my life. They gave me my existence, and they always supported what I wanted to do as music. They never deterred me. They supported that. You know why? Probably because they wanted me to be happy. More than anything in the world, they wanted happiness for me. Sure, they talked about being successful in other ways financially and this and that, but what was at the top of their game for me and for my brother and my other brother who passed away at the age of 42, they wanted me to be happy above anything. And they also knew that it would be very difficult to be unhappy if I was not physically well. And I would not be very happy if I was in financial straits. So that was like an umbrella term, that word happiness. That's how I see that.
Very nice.
I think that my dad would have been friendly with your dad. I think that he took the idea of happiness because that's what he wanted for me, for his children as well. But he took it a step further, I believe. He kind of took it to the basis of the United States. And he said one day, what other country in the world has the word happiness in its founding document? And I started to answer, and then he interrupted me. He said, but it doesn't promise you happiness. What it promises you is the right to pursue it. And Jefferson, of course, started the Declaration by writing life, liberty, and property. And then he changed property to the pursuit of happiness. And so Dad really felt very strongly about that. And I think you would have liked your dad very much, and you.
Yeah, I find it very interesting. I learn something from you guys all the time, so I appreciate it. Thank you. I think we have a choice. I'm going to let you guys make, we have enough time. Well, it's sort of borderline. Do you want to finish this chapter or do you want to save it till, whenever?
I'm good with stopping now, Marty, because of my
Okay.
eyes. It's a
Okay.
little easier for me on my eyes.
And David is going to probably thank you for saying that because he's usually first getting up in the afternoon because he's been up all night looking at the stars. Yeah, but it is interesting. It is, but I then would some on your own. Just take some time to read verses 16 through the end of 25, and it sort of puts, it just makes you recognize that this is the most important aspect of what we're discussing. And
Now, Marty,
yes, David.
Marty, tell us when we will be resuming Torah study. Could you give us a date on that?
For me, I think it'll be the middle of October.
Okay.
Okay, because we're going to be going across, and I'm going to send a note to Stacy that will be doing a pause. I forget who mentioned it last week, but we can pause everything at least with me. But when the rabbis are back, I would just say she should pick it up and move on. Just to go through other, just to not race through it. I know Rabbi Mary said, well, we should go through the book of Numbers and, I mean, book of Deuteronomy and finish it by the high holidays. I don't know. There's a lot more in here than what meets, and I don't necessarily like that type of approach, but I'm going to leave it up to the group. If they decide they want to do it that way, so be it. But it'll have to be wait for Rabbi Mary and Dr. and Norman, Rabbi Norman to get back and let them do with it as they
I think,
wish.
and I think out of respect for you, Marty, is probably a good idea to take a break.
So, I'm just going to leave it up to everyone to decide that and go from there. Go from there because I find that there's so many little aspects to each phrase. They show up in other books that we've read or the prayer books. Sometimes it's in one of the readings that we read. And we said, oh, okay, it makes sense to me. This is why it's there. And so that's why I go back and forth with the other books. But anyway, I'm sorry I'm going to have to be away for a long time. I really cherish this. And I don't know if on the ship they will have services or not. It's one of those things. I don't know if there'll be a rabbi on board, or if they will ask somebody to lead services if they have enough people. I don't know. I've done that before on cruises, but they have. Uh, I'm looking forward to this trip. I'll see countries I never dreamed of visiting before. So it's a chance of a lifetime, and people don't realize how many in Europe. In Europe, each one of those countries would be the equivalent of one of our states. Just think about that for a second. And each one had developed its own culture and everything. Well, it was originally the colonies were designed that way, but that's not how it turned out. It became all inclusive. And that's part of when other people look at this, they're waiting to see how do we juggle all of these ideas. And when we travel, Sue and I, we like to meet the people and talk to them about, some crazy things like that. It goes a long way. So on that note, I'm going to say Shabbat Shalom, and the two of you have a very healthy month ahead of you, and your families, and I just hope everyone is in good
Yeah.
health.
Marty, I will say this if I may. Gay and Kazinta Health, Kazinta Haste. You know what
Thank
that
you.
all means? You know what that all means.
Yeah.
Go in good health.
Yes.
Safe travels, going and coming. And I'll personally make prayers for you and Susan.
Thank you.
And you you should enjoy every moment of it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. But it's sort of like looking through a telescope, you know, or like they said on Star Trek, to go where no man has gone before. So that's the experience. That's the
And
experience.
David, I'll say to you, I'll be happy to see you when we reconvene. And I wish you all the best for the rest of the summer and the rest of your life. You should have good health all your life and all good things to you. You're such a good person.
And you too, Michael. Thank you so much for thinking of me.
So stay well, and I'll see you in October.